all the very best for the future and commend the bill to the House.
Meka Whaitiri.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker, tēnā tātou te whare nei. Mr Speaker, I join with all members of this House in celebrating the third reading of the Raukawa Settlement Bill. Tuatahi, Mr Speaker, e te iwi Raukawa, no mai, haere mai. Haere mai ki tātou whare. I runga te kaupapa whakahirahira i tēnei wā. Nō reira, oku raurangatira mā kuia mā koro mā tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Mr Speaker, I join with all members in celebrating the third reading of this most important bill of Raukawa. And I want to pick up on the comments of the Honourable Tariara Turia that talked about the unique qualities of this bill, particularly around the tensions of the relationships around overlapping interests with iwi. And I want to add my support in saying it is not often an easy thing to manoeuvre yourself through treaty processes when you have such competing interests in this area. And so I want to particularly acknowledge the leadership of those that were being mentioned, Chris and Vanessa particularly, in ensuring that your settlement waka has come to today. So I do mihi for the efforts of your negotiators and your leadership particularly. Mr Speaker, just in picking up the complexity, and particularly around the overlapping, when looking through the progress of this bill, I note that the deed of mandate was signed in September 2008. 10 months later, the terms of negotiation in July 2009 were signed. And then the deed of settlement was signed in September 2011. My point, Mr Speaker, is that's a 3-year journey from deed of mandate to deed of settlement, and I want to acknowledge there will be very few claims that can say that they have achieved it in such a short space of time, given the complexity issues that were being talked about earlier. So, Mr Speaker, I want to labour on that point because I recall a particular iwi that was first off the block under a Labour-led policy called the large natural groupings. The Turanganui Kiwa claims were first off as a part of that process, Mr Speaker, and we didn't meet the timelines that Raukawa has clearly met in terms of 3 years of settling. I think we took somewhere in the vicinity of 8 years. But, Mr Speaker, the point is, for iwi to get to the deed of settlement process is no short undertaking, and I do want to acknowledge the Minister of Treaty Negotiations, the Honourable Chris Finlayson, the officials that played their part to ensure that we were getting to a point. Like I say, 3 years journey is something to be proud of, given the backdrop of the relationship issues and the overlapping claims that come through. So for me, Mr Speaker, that speaks volumes of the leadership demonstrated by the Raukawa people in ensuring that we have got to this point in the process of having its third reading. But I do want to make an observation, Mr Speaker, that from the time of the deed of settlement, which was September in 2011, that this bill wasn't referred to the Select Committee until August 2013. So I'm in my own head doing my calculation of why the delay was in getting from a deed of settlement to the committee's process. But nonetheless, it was referred, and can I say that the work that the Māori Affairs Select Committee, ably led by the Honourable Tau Hinari, gave this bill a very good look over, and we had, I believe, we had a number of submissions and it was interesting in us travelling to Tokoroa, where we heard, I believe we had some 19 submissions, or 22 submissions, of which we heard 10, including holding the hearings in Tokoroa. And can I say that there were some very strong submissions made before the Māori Affairs Select Committee, and like my honourable member colleague Nanaia Mahuta, the Select Committee gave consideration to all submissions supported by the advice of officials. So when you see the recommendations from the Select Committee, you can see the comprehensiveness in which the committee members particularly address the issues of the submitters. But, Mr Speaker, this is about the third reading, and it is about celebrating the success of Raukawa's point in their history, and I'm, like everybody, looking forward to the next part of Raukawa's journey in terms of how this settlement will assist and enable their development as an iwi in their area. But, Mr Speaker, it was a short call to support the third reading and to acknowledge the work of people like Vanessa particularly and Chris for their leadership of this particular bill. And can I say, if Raukawa's future is anything like Motai Tangata Rau and taking out the Tainui regional kapahakas, can I say this country is in for an exciting, innovative and very entertaining future. Nō reira, Mr Speaker, I stand in support and commend the third reading. Kia ora tātou katoa.